The GPU market has gone from bad to worse to just straight up bizarre, showing us no signs of improvement. At this rate, you won't be able to buy any GPU. Let's discuss that in this video. Hey, if you enjoy content like this, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss another video. Hey, what is going on guys? Danny here, welcome back to the channel and I hope you've all been doing well. In this video, I wanted to discuss the latest state of the GPU market because the levels of craziness we're seeing here probably ascends past how horrible the market had become back in 2017. This all started back when Nvidia had launched the RTX 3000 series, with cards such as the RTX 3080 and RTX 3090 hitting store shelves with extremely limited availability. Demand for these GPUs was extremely high, while supply was very low. This continued on for other models as well, such as the RTX 3070 and RTX 3060 Ti. Despite availability being better for these GPUs since they're smaller chips, which are easier to manufacture, you have to realize that due to lower prices, they also have a much larger target audience. AMD is also struggling with the same problems, except they're in an even dire spot due to having much lower availability of their 6000 series GPUs. Right now, RX 6800s are the same price as RTX 3080s, and RX 6800 XTs are being sold for beyond that, and while you think that nobody would actually be buying these GPUs at such high prices, people actually are. While these manufacturers were having difficulty keeping up with the demand, what made things even worse at the time were disgusting individuals who took advantage of the situation and scalped these GPUs using bots to clear out inventories from retailers and then resell the GPUs on third-party marketplaces for much higher prices. You can go to eBay or any used marketplace and see that the cards like the RTX 3080 and 3090 are being sold for double, triple, or even quadruple the MSRP. That is basically what went on in late 2020 when these cards were launched, despite manufacturers saying that availability was going to improve. Yet we saw no sign of that happening. Whenever cards would come into stock at a retailer, they'd be sold out almost instantly. You'd have to spend time watching GPU alert streams or constantly refreshing pages yourself in order to snag one of these graphics cards. Then things got even worse when we start to see the rise of some major cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. In fact, I feel like every time we talk about GPUs, Ethereum has reached an all-time new high. With the whole market being in a state of a bull run, this caused GPU mining to make a huge comeback. If we go over to a website called MinerStat and take a look at their best GPUs by profitability and hash rates table, we can see that in the top 10 spots, all these cards with the exception of Radeon 7 were just announced in late 2020. So now you don't just have regular customers and scalpers fighting over these GPUs, but you've also got GPU miners. Now, if you go over to GPU mining forums, there are people who have setups with like 30 or 50 RTX 30 series GPUs. I actually covered this in one of my previous videos where a user had shown off a 78 RTX 3080 mining rig, which at that time was calculated to be generating at around 15 to 20k a month, but with the recent spike in Ethereum, the amount of money they'll be making is way beyond that. However, it doesn't stop there for miners. They're also now going after gaming laptops with RTX 30 series GPUs in them, buying laptops in bulk. What's also interesting to note is that miners are now buying these RTX 30 series GPUs straight from distributors. I recall seeing a post not too long ago about somebody actually being able to purchase RTX 3060s in bulk. Yes, 3060s, which haven't even hit store shelves officially. I feel like manufacturers should at least get in touch with these distributors and, ask them to stop selling these cards out in bulk to miners so they can go out in the hands of actual customers, but I feel like obviously that won't happen. Another post that I saw regarded gaming cafes in China using their gaming PCs, which they generally have a decent amount, to start mining Ethereum, probably because of lockdown restrictions and, everything that's kind of going on around the world. These places generally don't have the same amount of customer traffic that they usually would have. So instead of, relying on that low foot traffic and trying to make ends meet, they're obviously saying, hey, we can probably put these gaming PCs to good use and, mine cryptocurrencies with them. And that's probably generally the way to go because of how profitability has spiked up so much. Lastly, due to the recent US trade tariffs, this has imposed further costs on manufacturers, which has caused them to increase MSRPs of their cards even further, which they were originally set at. So this creates a terrible situation where manufacturers are struggling with very low supply due to shortages, limited manufacturing capacity, and import constraints. And you have this insane demand from the consumer side, and crypto mining is stronger than ever, which results in extremely high prices. I mean, you guys thought that buying RTX 3080s and 3070s around launch was bad, but now it's probably 5 to 10 times even worse. If we head on over to a known retailer like Newegg, you can see RTX 3080s have climbed to around $1,000 US, maybe even more than that. RTX 3070s are going for around $800. Meanwhile, RTX 3060 Ti's are selling for around $700. Though of course they're still selling out. At this point, I feel like the desperation has become so bad that nobody even cares about what the price tag actually says. As long as they're able to buy a GPU, they're happy. Retailers see this and they are taking advantage of this. A post over from Video Cards a couple days ago highlighted this. At a known European retailer called ProShop, they have been spotted listing the RTX 3060 non-Ti significantly higher above MSRP. They mentioned that the RTX 3060 was listed at €499, which is 52% higher than Nvidia's official MSRP for this model. It's gotten to the point that now, before the cards are even coming out, they're being listed at obscenely high prices because they know they're going to get sold out either way. Furthermore, another retailer in the UK, and I also have heard this from 2 other Canadian retailers, who have said that after communicating with manufacturers and Nvidia, supply for the RTX 30 series GPUs will worsen throughout the first quarter of 2021, which, is mind-boggling to hear considering, how much worse can it actually get. So from mid-February to until late March. This is due to shortage of raw materials, which, like I said, goes back to the whole health crisis thing where everything gets affected and certain industries cause chain reactions. Like right now, you have auto manufacturers crying about not being able to produce enough cars due to the shortages in semiconductor. I also have a family member who, works in the automotive business, and they've told me that they're informing customers their orders can possibly take, several weeks to fulfill since they don't actually have a huge inventory of vehicles available. Along with that, due to the Chinese Lunar New Year, you have many of these factories and companies shutting down in China, which can push things back in the whole process. So if you have been actively looking for a new GPU, such as an RTX 3080 or 3070, and you're wondering why it feels like they're not coming back in stock, well, there's your answer. Circling back to what I just said a moment ago in regards to what I had heard from a few local retailers, some of them have literally stopped taking back orders for most of the GPUs. Since they haven't been getting shipments at their usual frequency, they thought it would be best to completely halt orders, which is understandable, but it does also suck because this was one of the main methods I was recommending to people. If you can go to your local hardware store and ask them which models had the least amount of people waiting for it and put yourself on some kind of back order or waiting list, that would be the best way to assure yourself a card. But now that's not looking like it's an option anymore, which is quite unfortunate. There have also been some really bizarre developments which have occurred in the GPU market, where Nvidia is bringing back a couple of popular low-end SKUs from previous generations to help remedy the situation. I actually did talk about this in one of my previous videos, but was skeptical about it since there wasn't really any concrete information about it. Though it looks like that Nvidia has confirmed this and they will indeed be bringing back the RTX 2060 and GTX 1050 Ti to retailers so that customers can have some sort of options to buy, especially at the lower end. This whole new crypto mining boom has caused such a serious impact on the market. Older gen cards like the RTX 2080 and 2070 were already considered end of life and you obviously couldn't buy them, but if you were to go on over to a place like Amazon and search for a GTX 1660, you can't actually find those cards either. Therefore, people who had given up on trying to attain a newer generation graphics card and were looking to purchase a lower end previous generation GPU, they couldn't even do that either. Now, I'm all for bringing back older GPUs to give to consumers as, more options is better. The 1050 Ti could still probably play a decent amount of new games out there at 1080p with, lowish to medium settings, and a 2060 is still a very capable GPU at 1080p and 1440p, plus it has DLSS support, which further prolongs its relevancy. However, they have to do this at reasonable prices, and unfortunately, due to the current state, these cards are actually selling at above MSRP, which makes no sense to buy. I don't know how anyone can bring themselves to purchase an entry-level graphics card released back in 2016 and pay above MSRP in 2021. Though maybe it's because at this point, people are looking to get whatever they can get their hands on, so they don't really care anymore. So this is what it's come down to. The situation has gone from bad to worse to just straight up bizarre at this point, with absolutely no signs of improvement, despite these manufacturers telling us that they'll be ramping up production to meet demand. And I'm not saying this was a lie, but demand has just become so insanely high that it's near impossible for everyone to get a new GPU. With this kind of scarcity, the value of these products has soared well above MSRP. It's like these GPUs are now going to be worth their weight in gold. It's funny because in my RTX 3090 review and some of my other review videos, pricing and MSRP has always played a huge role in terms of whether or not I'll recommend something, though now we're seeing that, RTX 3080s are selling for like $2,000 on eBay at this point, so hey, if you can find an RTX 3090 for, around MSRP, all of a sudden it doesn't look like that bad of a deal. It's really comical how that all turns out. Because of how overpriced everything has become, now even the worst value cards are looking appealing. What are you going to do at this point? The used market has also been badly affected as well. You can see RTX 2080s and 2080 Ti's selling for their original prices again because miners are still willing to pay for them. The 20 series do decently when it comes to crypto mining, and now there's a demand for those older cards as well. If you're in the market for a new GPU, man, my heart goes out to you because I know how much of a struggle it is.